August 24, 1949. Alliance forged. The North Atlantic Treaty came into force, marking a defining moment in 20th-century international relations. Signed on April 4, 1949, in Washington, D.C., by 12 nations: the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Portugal, the treaty established the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The treaty's activation represented the institutionalization of a collective defense pact anchored in Article 5, which declares that an armed attack against one member shall be considered an attack against all. The geopolitical context in which NATO was created reflected escalating tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union following World War II. The Soviet Union had consolidated its hold on Eastern Europe, installed communist regimes in several countries, and imposed the Berlin blockade in 1948. These actions heightened Western fears of Soviet expansionism. In response, the United States abandoned its traditional isolationism in favor of a more assertive international role, as demonstrated by the Truman Doctrine of 1947 and the Marshall Plan of 1948. NATO's formation signified the strategic alignment of Western democracies against the perceived threat posed by the USSR. NATO's legal foundation relied on Article 51 of the United Nations Charter, which permits collective self-defense. The treaty also emphasized peaceful resolution of disputes and the principles of democracy, liberty, and a rule of law. Although NATO was initially a political alliance, it quickly acquired a military structure, especially after the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950. This conflict reinforced the perception that communist powers might use force to achieve their aims, leading to the creation of an integrated military command and the appointment of a Supreme Allied Commander Europe. The United States' commitment to defend Europe through NATO marked a fundamental shift in American foreign policy. The treaty bound the U.S. permanently to European security, reversing its previous practice of withdrawing from continental entanglements after major wars. U.S. troops were permanently stationed in Europe, and American leadership became central to NATO operations. In this way, NATO institutionalized transatlantic security cooperation and contributed to the stability of Western Europe during the Cold War. The treaty's entry into force was not just a legal milestone, but a diplomatic signal. It underscored the cohesion of the Western Bloc and sent a clear message to the Soviet Union that aggression would not go unchallenged. It also provided reassurance to Western European countries that their reconstruction efforts would be protected under the U.S. nuclear umbrella. NATO became a pillar of the policy of containment, as articulated by George F. Kennan, which sought to limit Soviet influence without direct confrontation. The alliance expanded over time to include Greece and Turkey in 1952, West Germany in 1955, and Spain in 1982. The accession of West Germany prompted the Soviet Union to form the Warsaw Pact, deepening the bipolar division of Europe. NATO's Collective Defense Clause was invoked only once, in response to the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States, demonstrating the alliance's continued relevance beyond the Cold War. The entry into force of the North Atlantic Treaty in 1949 was a cornerstone event in the formation of the post-war international order. It cemented the security architecture of the Western world and established a framework for coordinated defense policy among democracies. While the Cold War context provided the immediate impetus, NATO's institutional resilience allowed it to adapt to new threats in the 21st century. From deterrence during the Cold War to crisis management and peacekeeping missions in the Balkans, Afghanistan, and Libya, NATO's role has evolved but remains anchored in the treaty that became effective on August 24, 1949. For enthusiasts of historical ephemera, visit history-collectors.com to find collectibles that might complement your collection. You can own a piece of history.